The late Nelson Mandela was one of the most influential figures of the 20th century, a leader who fought against racial inequality and inspired millions around the world. But what if I told you that the majority of people have a false memory of his death? That they remember him dying in prison when in reality he lived to be 55 years old. It sounds crazy, right? But there's a good chance that this is actually true. Welcome to our channel. And today, let's investigate the Mandela Effect, glitches in our reality. What if the Mandela Effect isn't just a case of collective false memories, but proof that our reality is constantly shifting? Could it be that we are slipping between parallel timelines without realizing it? Let me tell you about more than 30 eerie examples of the Mandela Effect and why scientists believe it is happening. But before we dive in, be sure to hit that subscribe button, so you don't miss out on any of our spine-chilling mysteries. You may have heard of the Mandela Effect before, a term that refers to the phenomenon of two or more people sharing a false memory of an event or detail that didn't actually happen. This could be something like remembering the Monopoly man, wearing a monocle when he never did, or thinking that Bert and Ernie were lovers when they were just friends. But what if these false memories were actually glimpses into other realities, where the details we remember actually did happen? If you're skeptical, you're not alone. But here's one example that might change your mind. The Berenstain Bears, a popular children's book series, was known as the Berenstain Bears by many Americans growing up. In this alternate timeline, the spelling was always B. But somehow, the majority of people remember it differently, proving that our memories aren't always reliable. Another example is the phrase, mirror, mirror on the wall. While this is how the evil queen checks her reflection in Snow White, the actual line from the Grimm brothers fairy tale is magic mirror on the wall, which makes you wonder, are we really living in the world we think we are? In science fiction, this concept is explored further with the theory of many worlds, which suggests that every time a decision is made, the universe splits and creates a new reality where every possible outcome exists. If this is true, then it's possible that we could be jumping between different timelines all the time, experiencing different versions of reality and bringing back memories from other worlds. But the Mandela Effect doesn't just apply to fictional characters or stories. There are also examples of people remembering historical events differently. Take, for instance, the Berlin crisis of 1961. At the time, the city was divided between the Soviet-backed East and the West, backed by the United States. But according to some people's memories, the division wasn't so clear-cut. Some people remember President John F. Kennedy visiting West Berlin shortly after the construction of the Berlin Wall and saying, "Ich bin ein Berliner," only for their memories to be erased. In reality, JFK never visited the city until 5 years later when he said, "All right, let's go to Berlin." So, what explains these differences in memory? Are we really jumping between multiple universes? Well, it's hard to say for sure, but there are a few theories. One idea is that our memories are simply unreliable and can be influenced by a number of factors, including suggestion and exposure to different media. Another theory is that we are actually accessing memories from other timelines, perhaps due to glitches in the space-time continuum. Some even believe that there are malevolent forces at play, deliberately manipulating our memories to keep us from remembering what really happened. There are plenty of cases where people remember things differently than what actually happened. For example, some people remember the classic horror film, The Shining, starting with the line, "Here's Johnny," when in reality, it was "Here's Johnny," which raises questions about whether our memories are accurate or if there are outside forces influencing what we remember. Even celebrities are not immune to the Mandela Effect. People remember Michael Jackson's hit song being called "They Do Care About Us," when in reality, the title was "They Do Care About Us." Similarly, some remember the Oscar-winning film about the life of Freddie Mercury being called Bohemian Rhapsody when it was Bohemian Rhapsody. These examples suggest that our memories of pop culture are also not always accurate, leaving us to wonder if there are more glitches in our collective memory. The Mandela Effect has been making headlines lately, with more and more people coming forward with memories that don't seem to match up with reality. But it's important to note that not everyone remembers things the same way. This means that the Mandela Effect doesn't necessarily indicate a shift in our reality, but rather a difference in perception and memory between individuals. For example, in a study conducted by Fiona Macaulay and her colleagues, they found that 70% of participants remembered the Polish death camp being called Auschwitz, while the remaining 30% thought it was spelled Auschwitz. Despite the discrepancy in spelling, both groups agreed on the pronunciation, which suggests that the Mandela Effect is not a case of false memory, but rather a difference in how people perceive and process information. So while the Mandela Effect may be a fascinating topic to discuss, it's important to approach it with a healthy dose of skepticism and critical thinking. Just because a large group of people share a common memory, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's true or that our reality is shifting. One of the most famous examples of the Mandela Effect is the misremembering of the lyrics to the song "We Are the World." The iconic 1985 charity single featured an all-star lineup of musicians, including Michael Jackson, Lionel Richie, Tina Turner, and more. The song was written by Michael Jackson and Lionel Richie to raise awareness and funds for African famine relief. But despite its popularity and impact, there seems to be a glitch in people's memories regarding the lyrics. Many people remember the line, "There used to be a time," when in reality, the lyric is, "There used to be a say." This seemingly small error in the lyrics has sparked debate and speculation for years, with some believing it to be a simple slip-up while others seeing it as evidence of the Mandela Effect. The misremembering of this iconic song's lyrics highlights the fallibility of human memory and the potential for misinformation to spread and persist over time. While it's fun to speculate about the Mandela Effect and the possibility of parallel universes, it is important to remember that our memories are fallible and can be influenced by a variety of factors. So before you start worrying that you're living in the twilight zone, consider the possibility that your memory may just be playing tricks on you. Have you experienced the Mandela Effect? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more videos. And thanks for watching.